If you've been in recovery long enough, or you've been around other people in recovery, you probably have heard of that person who always says that he hasn't watched porn in 47 days. He knows the exact number. He tracks his urges, he tracks his triggers, he tracks thoughts. But porn is still the center of his life, despite him trying to get rid of it. So what if the problem isn't just porn? So what if the problem isn't just porn, but that porn is still this sun that everything tends to revolve around? Today, we're going to be talking about recovery and why recovery can become its own addiction. Hey everybody, welcome to the Inner Revolution. If you are looking to become someone different, someone new, someone that doesn't have pornography in their life, in your life, then you are in the right spot. So welcome in. Now before we begin, if you are looking for a therapist or a coach to help with your goals around pornography addiction, then you can schedule a free 15-minute consultation with the link down below in the description with myself. And yeah, it's free. There you go. Really, at the end of the day, the best predictor of therapy and coaching is the relationship that you have with your coach or therapist. And so that's why the consultations are so great, because you can see if you and I will get along. And if we don't, that's okay. But if we do, awesome, and more than likely you're going to have some good outcomes. So again, schedule a link down below for free 15-minute consultation if that's something you're looking into. All right. So this idea is really interesting to me, that this idea around recovery becoming the new addiction rather than the thing you're trying to recover from. So whether that's porn, whether it's alcohol, nicotine, whatever, you name it. It really doesn't matter. But you first have this life when you're in the midst of porn addiction, right? You have this life of all you do is think about porn, or you can't help thinking about porn all the time. But now in recovery, you're thinking about not thinking about porn. And so the issue, or the main focal point, becomes porn still. So you see how when you're an addict, or rather, when you're struggling with porn, porn is the center of your life, right? It's running your life. You can't help thinking about it all the time. You can't help PMOing all the time, all the things. When you start recovery, a lot of people fall into this trap of only still thinking about porn. Porn is still running their life. Rather, it's running away from rather than running towards. And both of those, I don't think are helpful. Obviously, running towards, yeah, probably not helpful. But running away from and focusing on that, I think can do more harm than good at the end of the day. And it's a problem because recovery can accidentally reinforce the identity of, I am a porn addict, right? Because in recovery, when you start to struggle, we tend to connect our identity with our struggle. So we think that, oh man, like I'm having an urge right now, and then eventually you go PMO. You are connecting all of these struggles, or you're fusing to all of them, using some ACT here, right? You're fusing to all of them, and you are becoming your struggle, or rather you keep the label of, I am a porn addict, or I'm someone who struggles with porn. And then people tend to focus on the streak, and the streak becomes this identity currency that people hold on to as tight as they can. Whereas if they have if they have a huge streak, let's say 30 days, then their self-worth, this positive reinforcement of this new identity, starts to be created, starts to go up. And then when they have a slip, when they PMO, it all comes tumbling down like a house of cards. People, I think, focus too much on the streak. And I think not ignoring the streak, but not focusing on the streak is not something we want to do. Because at the end of the day, the streak has nothing to do with the person you're trying to become. It has nothing to do with your recovery. at the end of the day. I think as if you do decide to track it, then it's a good indicator of how you're doing. Man, those trucks' bright lights are really bright. Knowing how many days, or even in general, the last time your PMO was is a good indicator of if you're improving or if you're not. But if that's all you focus on, if all you focus on is, man, when I wake up this morning, I am just not going to PMO because I don't want to break my streak of 45 days that I'm on right now. That's just white knuckling, which we'll talk about in a minute, and that's not helpful. We tend to look at this, the day count or how many days as our worth measurement. So the longer you go without PMO, the bigger that streak grows, the higher your worth grows. But once one drops, they tend to both drop at the same time, right? So if you slip up, people think you start at day 0, right? Your recovery is now down the drain. You're starting all over. And your worth, down in the dumps. When that is just not true. Remember, your worth is always 100%. And so you have this little piggy bank of worth currency, and it's always full, okay? You shake it, you can't even hear it. It's that full. Your worth is always 100%. You're never depositing into this worth, this piggy bank of worth, okay? It's always full. And so despite your actions, no matter what you do, whether you PMO every day, multiple times a day, or whether you're 10 years sober, the worth of those two people are the same. And so try your best not to fall into this trap of connecting your actions to your worth. Remember, you're a human being, not a human doing. What you do has no effect on who you are as a person. And yes, that even includes your pornography streaks, your amount of days that you are porn free. That, in fact, does not affect your worth in the slightest, despite how it might feel from time to time. If your entire sense of identity, or this entire sense of self that you have rises and falls with a streak number, then porn still owns you. At this point, I think the reality is you're no better off than when you were watching porn every day, or when you watched it more frequently. It is still the focal point of your life. It's still the center of your life. And it's not getting you anywhere. I think the brain can transfer a lot of the addiction patterns that it creates into recovery patterns. So things like compulsively checking your app, right? Your recovery app, whatever one you decide to use, if you do use one. Or hyper monitoring your thoughts, always being super hyper aware of them. Right? Like, all right, okay, don't think of porn, don't think of porn, don't think of porn, don't think of porn. Like just being super hyper vigilant. Or you might panic when there are sexual thoughts that do show up. And you have this catastrophic thinking that when you have a slip, your whole recovery, this whole thing that you started to create is gone, is wiped away. Now, I'm not saying that structure in recovery is unhealthy, because it's not. Structure in recovery is necessary. It's healthy. But the moment it becomes compulsive around this structure, it's not helpful at all. That's really when porn does start to become the center of your life once again. So when all you do is focus on the streak, you tend to do more of what's called white knuckling. That's when there's a lot of suppression, fear of urges, viewing sexuality overall as dangerous, and you're constantly vigilant. And when you do this, there's going to become a time when your sympathetic nervous system, there is no time when your sympathetic nervous system actually turns off or gets a break. And so what this means is that you're always going to have this chronic feeling or be in this chronic threat state. Always on the lookout for the urge. I don't know why I went and did this. Always on the lookout. Okay? And that's not what we want. That's not where real recovery happens. That's not where real change happens. And when you are in this state of hypervigilance, when you do have an urge, it's going to feel way bigger than it actually is. This has to do with what's called a psychological reactant. So if I tell you right now, like, hey dude, listen, I'm going to tell you not to think about something. And so please don't think about it. Don't think about a purple polar bear with a birthday hat on a unicycle, juggling, riding in circles. Why are you smiling? Why are you giggling? If you're not, be easy on yourself, dude. But it's probably because you thought of that, right? When I told you not to. Or it's like when someone in a big room says, nobody look, and everybody looks. That's kind of a silly example of a psychological reactant. And so the more that we focus on running away from something or removing something from our life, the bigger the feelings are going to be when that thing that we're running away from shows up. Where focus goes, energy flows. And the same thing goes with recovery. If all you're doing is focusing on pornography, whether it's not watching porn or watching porn, you're going to have similar effects in the long run. The urges are just always going to feel bigger and more aggressive, and that's going to bring up more fear, more stress, which will eventually lead to a slip. So here is, I think, the reason why therapy and coaching around pornography is actually really helpful. And this isn't a plug for myself or anyone or anything else. A lot of the times addiction can become, or sorry, not addiction, but recovery can become a form of avoidance. So what are you trying to avoid by focusing on porn recovery 24/7? What thoughts, feelings, experiences are you trying to stuff under what is seemingly good, which is recovery, but you aren't addressing those underlying layers? What is it? And so people can fall into this trap of, okay, I am not going to watch porn, so I'm going to be hyper vigilant and read all I can, study up all I can, do all these things 24/7 to make sure that I never have a slip again. And when I have an urge, when I have these feelings, I'm just going to kind of attack them head on or even just avoid them. And so that right there becomes your cycle in recovery. Whenever feelings show up, whenever you think of experiences, is you just focus on this recovery from porn. When, remember, porn is just a symptom. It's most likely not really the underlying issue. And so you need to really, really think about what emotions or feelings are you trying to avoid. When you have an urge, what is that urge tied with? What other emotion, what other feeling is tied to that you are running away from or trying to cope with? Generally, it's things like loneliness, inadequacy, fear of rejection, marriage dissatisfaction, career pressure, spiritual doubt, all of these different things. You can go in a lot of different directions. So are you using recovery as a form or tool for avoidance? Are you using porn recovery as a more socially acceptable way to avoid harder conversations, right? Instead of saying, oh yeah, I'm a porn addict, right? You can now say, oh, I'm recovering from pornography, I'm X amount of days sober, I'm all of these things. That's a more socially acceptable thing to say rather than I'm using porn to cope with all of these hard feelings. You're now using recovery to cope with all of these hard feelings. So if you quit porn, but you never learn to tolerate those feelings that you're trying to avoid, like loneliness, then you're not going to heal. You just removed a coping strategy. That's all you did. And you replaced it with another coping strategy, which is in the same vein, pun intended, which is porn. Just instead of going towards it, you're now running away from it, but that is still your focal point. So at the end of the day, it comes down to this. Recovery is not the process of removing. It's not the process of just removing pornography from your life. It's the process of becoming. And becoming is a whole lot more than just focusing on this idea of, I can't watch porn, I can't watch porn. Focusing on your streak. This is going to help you shift the mindset of, I'm a porn addict or someone struggling with porn who's trying not to relapse, to someone who this will move toward, I am a man building depth, integrity, emotional capacity, and connection. You see how different that is? Rather than just saying, I'm trying not to relapse. Like, trying not to relapse is a good thing. Recovery is a good thing. But we tend to get too narrow-minded on what recovery actually means, on what it really looks like. And so, for you, who are you trying to become? Who are you trying to be? Do you even know? What are your values? If you and I were in an elevator together going up to the second floor, okay, from floor 1, we don't have a lot of time, and I said, hey dude, pitch me your values. What are they? Give me the elevator pitch. Could you give me your top 5 values? If you can't, then start there. Identify what your top 5 values are. And then use that to create this idea, create this person who you want to, create the person that you want to become, while letting your values guide. And that is what the focus needs to be, rather than just not looking at pornography or increasing my streak, right? So stop stressing over your daily streak, really. Don't worry about it. And start focusing on the person that you want to be. And naturally, as you do that, I think that the streak, the days between your relapses, your slips, your PMOs, will start to increase because you're focused on the right things. Your focal point in recovery has changed. Rather than having porn be the focal point, it is now the person that you are trying to be. This version of you that you will become if you live the life that is aligned with your values. All right, that's all I got for you. Hopefully you guys learned something new. If you like this episode, then go ahead and hit the like button. Go ahead and subscribe. Hit the bell icon to be notified when a new episode is released. And on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, if you could leave a review, that would be much appreciated. If you know somebody, you're thinking about somebody that could benefit from this episode, then share it with them as well. Okay, you guys rock. Peace, love, and life. Talk later.